Hey guys, welcome to Novelty Read and Dish. I'm Amber,
I'm Adrienne.
and today we're going to talk about Kylie Snow. She's a debut author of Lies of Lena and Sins of Silas. But before we get to turn the page on that tea, we're going to talk about the recent events surrounding Romance Con. I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with it, but that's pretty crazy. So, what are your thoughts on what J.K. Rowling and Julie Soto and how all this unfolded?
Well, I think you know my thoughts. I think she needs to just take her money and sit,
Same.
be quiet.
So I never thought I would say this because I'm all for like authors having all the recognition and I understand like intellectual property, that's a real big thing, but
Right. At a point.
at a point, now this has been decades ago, and I will say I was not a fan fiction reader until Sin Yu wrote Manacled, and then I was hooked. And it's all been that streamline. It's all been that Dramani ship, and I'm not the only one. I mean, it's
Oh
a
yeah.
huge right now. But I am glad to see that they are becoming physical copies. Well, I mean, of course, they are not the same. And I'm pretty sure when we start doing the comparison with Rose and Chains, because that's our read for next month,
Hmm.
um, we'll be able to kind of tell you a little bit about the noticeable differences because they do have to take the copyright part out. So all the characters are no longer characters that are specific to the Harry Potter franchise. However, that does take out a lot of the nostalgia for me.
Right.
I feel
I
like I
agree.
know these people. Like I grew up with Hermione. Like I we are soul bonded. We grew up together. Um I don't need that much of a background because I already
It's
know.
there. It exists already for you.
I was so disappointed even apart from this romance con. I mean, that was a big ordeal because to
Well,
me it
you
was
have all
just
these other authors now that are pulling out because they don't want to be associated with the drama.
yes. And it's not just, I understand everybody is entitled to their own opinion. And some of hers is not necessarily her resentment to the fan fiction, it's her beliefs and bigotry. Whatever happened to everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but if nobody asks you, don't say nothing.
Right.
Whatever
If
happened to
you have
that?
nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. Right.
That's
Like,
almost like those Facebook wars. Somebody says something you don't like,
well,
scroll past it.
that's what it's like. She's going full scorched earth, over everything now.
Bless the Emma Watson. And I'm sorry. I know she's probably got some hang-ups, some flaws somewhere. I cannot, even after reading and rereading Manacled, then turn around and reading the Harry Potter series over and then reading more fan fiction. I have yet to be able to imagine any other face with Hermione because she did so much justice to her character. I was devastated to hear that J.K. Rowling was, she just ran
Sad.
them over,
Hmm.
backed up, and hit them again. The fact that she did not contribute any of her success with giving her
Right.
characters a face,
Hmm.
when honestly, the whole cast was so on point.
The whole ensemble.
I mean, even, and that doesn't happen very often.
Not just the child, like everyone that
Yes.
played and that had part in those movies.
Dumbledore, Minerva, Snape was perfect.
Yeah.
You cannot, that's just, you'll not be ever be able to do that again. Like the way that they've been effing up movies left and right, that won't ever happen again.
Well, in some books, like now they're trying to give every book a movie or a show. And some books you just don't. Like I feel like some of it just needs to be left alone as a book. Like we don't need a movie or a series.
And I really do feel like, and I'm not saying I'm not in Sarah J. Maas's head, but Akatar was on the books for a long time for creating a television adaptation. And I don't know if it was going to be movie or if it was going to be a series, but I heard that there was a whole bunch of, like a kind of like disagreements on like, I don't know if it was characters or the showrunner or what happened, but I understand it. Like, those are her babies.
Right, yeah.
And you don't want a situation. And in the same sense, I'm like, J.K. Rowling, it's just,
But she got her, like,
but
she got
yeah.
her movies out of it, and now she's the one that has the problem with her own.
If you did, why didn't you say something years ago? And then
Right.
she
If
had
they're
the
not good enough
nerve.
now, how were they good enough then?
Did you know she had the nerve to tell Daniel Radcliffe? She was like, save your apologies.
And
Why would
why?
he be apologizing to you? Why
Right.
why can you voice your opinion in an essay when nobody asked you?
Right.
Nobody
It was
asked
just,
you.
yeah.
And then they had an opinion about it when asked. It wasn't agreeable, and now all of a sudden it's you can save your apology. No, well maybe he's not apologizing to
Yeah.
you, you know?
Exactly.
Maybe that's why I don't feel so bad reading all these books that come from Germani fan fiction. Anyway,
And let
so
them have their roses. I mean, now, they have to take their work and pretty much turn it into something completely different because of copyright.
yeah.
So,
And I
let them have their
understand it to
moment.
some degree because you have the basis of the intellectual property right there.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand there is so many mixed feelings about this, but nobody says anything when people do the same thing from people's lives.
Right.
Like
Mm-hmm.
Queen Mary and the Tudors and stuff like that. Nobody turns around and thinks about, oh, well, you can't do that because that was his life.
Right. Yeah.
It,
No, I
you know,
agree.
it doesn't really seem like it's fair. Nobody got permission to do all of these Lifetime movies of people that have been
Oh my
assaulted
goodness,
and
yes.
murdered, but we can be so upset about fan fiction to the point where it's that disturbing that J.K. Rowling has now ruined Romance
Romance.
Con. And it may not be her, and I'm not blaming the whole thing on her. I'm just really not impressed with the way she handled
Well, it
it.
seems like there's just drama that follows her everywhere now.
She
It's just like
starts it.
steamrolling over everything.
Yes. It is so sad too because I enjoyed that series as a child. I read it.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought I would be back into the world where I would enjoy Harry Potter again.
Mm-hmm. And
Because
you know where I am. Like, I haven't made it to that part of the world yet. This will be my first time venturing outside of
you will
just
be a
Harry Potter.
Dramani virgin. But so I never, before reading Manacled, as a matter of fact, when listeners, if you listened to us before we were Novelty Reading Dish, we were chapter 10, Reading Between the Lines. We had to create a whole nother podcast show because we got hacked and it wouldn't let me upload. And anyway, long story short, one of my very first episodes, I went into this whole thing about where I did not believe I would ever set sail on the ship that was Hermione and Draco. It was just, I am out of the Harry Potter world. I graduated high school, never thought more about it because that's the year that they were finished with Harry Potter.
Mm-hmm. We've grown up.
We're
Like, kind
grown
of left
up.
that in the yeah.
We left that in the past. We did Twilight after,
Yeah.
but left that in the past. So when somebody recommended Manacled, it was during that podcast that I said, and I quote, that is just one ship I never set sail on. I will never read Harry Potter fan fiction. It just does not seem like my cup of tea. Lo and behold, I did, and now I am
Speaking
captaining that
words.
ship. I have salted and seasoned those words, ate them, regurgitated, and probably re ate them because that's how deep I
You
am.
are, yep.
Anyways, J.K. Rowling, I'm so disappointed because she was an idol to me.
Yeah, well, she's ruining, yeah. She's
She
ruining her own self-respect. Like her, the respect
she
that
was
she's
in
gained from other people.
poverty when she created this fantasy realm that now we are just that's all we think about when we think witches
Right.
and wizards.
Yeah. You associate it with that. Yeah.
And anyways, I don't know. Speaking of Kylie Snow, if you guys were aware that she was attending Romance Con and recently she has pulled out, but she is one of very, very, the numbers just keep getting bigger and bigger of the ones that have pulled out.
Mm-hmm.
It was supposedly managed by Mischief Management. And the only reason I'm saying supposedly is because I'm not 100% sure I have all my facts straightened out because I don't know what's true news
Yeah,
anymore.
that's what I was about to say. It kind of seems all over the place at the moment anyway.
But it was ran by Mischief Management, which is I don't know if they weren't owned by J.K. Rowling, but obviously they had some kind of connections.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, apparently her and Julie Soto, and there were some other issues with some of the beliefs that J.K. Rowling had, and I'm not going to go into that. She was very, she basically stated her opinions when nobody asked, and I don't think it was very fair what she said,
I
and
agree.
it was definitely bigotry. And the sad thing is her main character faced so much bigotry in Harry Potter,
Mm-hmm.
which was nothing transgender, but
Still, I mean, yeah,
bigotry is
bigotry.
bigotry,
Yeah.
you know. Anyway, pot meet kettle. Anyway, um, but Kylie Snow was attending, and Kylie Snow is the author of this series that we're fixing to turn the page and talk about it. She is a debut author. This is her first book. She began as an indie author, which indie means that they do all the funding and the work for the self publishing. And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they can hire like beta readers and stuff like that
And I
for.
think she has something kind of like that. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but she opens the applications every now and then so that you could join.
Oh, I need to do that. Anyway, like I was never one to read a whole bunch of debut novels to begin with. But it was only because, not because I wasn't interested, it was because it just never showed through on my like Goodreads, like recommendations, I guess. So when I started looking for debut authors and works that were related on Kindle, of course, this book showed up that this is something you may like. Let me tell y'all, I don't know, of course, if you're familiar with Sarah J. Maas, obviously, if you're listening to this because you've read Kylie Snow, then you know that there's a lot of similarities between Sarah J. Maas and Kylie Snow, and their writing styles. And I will say this book absolutely took me on a fantasy ride.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
was
Which
hooked from the go.
I'm new to this whole world, so but yeah, I agree. This was a good one to step off in as
And
far as a series goes.
the cover really is misleading.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's not a lot there. Like it doesn't tell you.
No, when I looked at it and it was animated, my immediate thought was, this can't be dark
Mm-hmm.
romantasy.
Mm-hmm.
I keep seeing that this is dark, but there's no way because it's animated. That, let me tell you, friends, that is very misleading. It is very dark. Um, there are trigger warnings with this book. Be sure that you read those if you're sensitive to a lot of content. I will say that the majority of the first book doesn't really seem to be offensive until you have to get halfway, about halfway through the first book.
Mm-hmm. Probably the last third of the book, I would say, is when it really starts kicking in.
So, Lane, and let me correct myself. I have said it and said it and said it, Lena. It is Lena. When I watched Kylie Snow's TikToks, and yes, I follow her because, wow, this book blew me away. It is Lena, Lies of Lena.
Lena. Mm-hmm.
And I will likely butcher
Oh
at
man.
least 75% of the names from here on out, because if I wouldn't have listened to her say Lena, I did not listen to the audiobook version of this book or series, so I had no
No,
idea
I
that I
didn't either.
pronounced it wrong. And the pronunciation guide didn't really do me much good.
Well, I think it's like that anyway. I think everyone interprets it a different way. So it really needs to come from the author to make sure that you're saying it the way they intend it to be
And I'm
said.
Southern, so somebody
Everything,
says pecan, I'm like, pecan?
everything's gonna have that draw to it.
I will probably butcher this a thousand ways from Sunday, but I
We really
immediately,
enjoyed it,
yes,
and we really appreciate it.
yes, I enjoyed going through and trying to say this was really funny. Like
Yes,
trying to go through and say some of these, like say that word, say
Otacia,
Atasha,
Otacia. See, Otacia. When it looks like it would be Otacia to me.
Atasha,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
and
then you have Fault Room, Still
ner
Small.
narada, ner
Yeah,
ner a duh.
that's Yeah. Nereda.
But I
We
was
were calling
reading
it
it in
Nereida.
Iridia. These, this is a good
But
time.
she does, at the beginning of her book, she has the map and she'll have a playlist and then she has her pronunciation guide. So she gives you a lot
She
right
gives
there at the
you
beginning.
all the materials. And Homegirl, so I read a little bit about Kylie Snow,
Mm-hmm.
and her image was totally not what I expected. So I was reading that she grew up playing the games and, creating her own world like Sims and stuff like that. She's really pretty. Like, she's
Yeah,
really
a little blonde.
pretty.
Yeah, like a
Yes.
gamer girl.
So I never in my wildest dreams, for some reason, I felt like she ought to have that dark hair and
Mm-hmm.
that pale skin and like almost kind of gothic,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just, and I don't even know why I felt that way.
I
I don't
guess
know.
it's just when you read,
It's dark.
yeah, and you just associate that with certain characteristics.
I
But
think
yeah, she's
probably.
just like a little petite blonde gamer girl.
And I also looked up all the reviews on Goodreads because before I get started, I not the spoiler reviews, but just the normal reviews. I like to know what I'm
Getting
getting
into
prepared to.
yeah, getting into
And Goodreads needs to do something about this, but the only reviews that showed up first were always the negative reviews.
oh really?
And I'm never, if I don't like a book, I will maybe one or two star it and won't review it.
See, I'm the same. I won't review it. Yeah, I
It
don't care for it.
bothers me to no end, like to see some of the things that these people say because some of the comments should not be relevant. And I'm not saying their opinion doesn't matter, but these are obviously people that just have it out against fantasy in general.
The whole
Because,
genre. Yeah.
I mean, one of the comments said, and I quote, I can't believe we were jumping from ball gowns and princes and, royalty, medieval ish, to pizza and tank tops
And skinny jeans.
and
Wasn't it?
skinny
Didn't it
jeans.
say something about skinny?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me break that down for you. There is a reason, and I'm telling you, and if Kylie Snow ever listens to this, I'm probably going to be embarrassed because she may disagree with me. I believe that if you read fantasy and the author has went to the trouble to tell you that they were wearing tank tops, skinny jeans, and eating pizza
Yes.
in a realm where it's possible that there may be time walkers,
We've got some travelers of some sort.
and you tell me that you stopped reading it because you think the author made a mistake.
Or is confused. Like I think that was a lot of what I was reading. People were like, I don't know what's what. I feel so confused because we keep flip flopping. And it's like, well, if she's going into detail, if she's taking the time to go into detail about this,
Yes,
there's
there's
a
a
reason
reason that we're doing this, and the best series always have the breadcrumbs like that.
along the way. Yeah. And then you're reading books later on and you go back to those first books because you're like, light bulb
Light
moment.
bulb, yes. And that's why I was so I'm like, these people obviously must not devote their time to fantasy fiction. They must only read, if they read Nicholas Sparks and Elin Hildebrand, they don't need to be commenting. Just rate it with a star. You have no business commenting on fantasy fiction if you don't understand how
Well, they
fantasy
just want
works.
that. They just want something that's just laid out just from the get
From
go.
the
It's
get go,
yeah.
they don't have to think about it. They don't.
And there's no jumping around or needing to go back and
Yes,
read and reread. And
don't call it a plot hole until you've read the entire series. And as a reader, as a leisure reader, and this is my unprofessional opinion, as a leisure reader, my job is not looking for plot holes. I am there to read for fun,
enjoyment, yeah.
enjoyment, and when the series is over, if I think that I have any questions that were left unresolved, then I can say there's a plot hole.
Right. Well, and I'm this way. I don't know if you are, but as I'm reading, if there is something that I'm questioning, like it doesn't sound quite right when I first read it, I'll note it
Yeah.
in my phone or something like that. And then know to myself to keep looking for the answer to that as I'm reading and be like, okay, well, now this makes sense.
Right.
So, I mean, and it's going to answer itself at some point. It may not be in the books that are
Yeah.
already out, and this is supposed to be, what did we say, a 5 or 6 book series is what,
Yes.
and we're only on book 2. So,
And she has us in this big of a chokehold just on the second book.
on the second book.
And I will say, we were talking about similarities in Sarah J. Maas. Sarah J. Maas is huge. Like, she has 3 huge series. We are 10 years into A Court of Thorn and Roses.
Kylie Snow, please don't do that to
I
us.
know. Please don't. But we are 10 years into this series, still haven't got it completely wrapped up. And everybody is still just as crazy about ACOTAR as they were when that first book came out. She has everything mapped out. She just finished her Throne of Glass series. She is a huge name. I see so many similarities in their writing styles.
Yeah, and you've told me that, and I have nothing to compare it to because I have not read anything Sarah J. Maas yet. So,
I think Sarah J. Maas has a little bit more of a political, um, that when you get that aha moment and that it's more of a save the world type thing and more of a political standpoint,
mm-hmm.
and hers is more of a relation right now.
Right.
It tends to seem like it's more of a relationship type thing, but it's gearing to saving the world.
Well, yeah, that's what I was about to say. Towards the end of the second book, it seems like it's going more towards that type of plot.
I will say that there are a lot of similarities between the Throne of Glass series just because of the necromancy and how the royal line is playing out. Like the king wound up being the bad guy. But for the most part, enough sets her apart that even though their writing styles are similar, their plot is very different. But the same, like the side characters, if you've read Sarah J. Maas, you know that when she starts a book, she normally starts and it kind of revolves around one central group of characters. But the side characters wind up being just as important by the time it's all said and done.
And that's what I said. One of the things I loved about this is that we cared as much about those side characters at the end of the second book as we did the main characters
Yes.
because she develops them so well.
And the fact that you feel emotionally tied to each and every one to some degree
Mm-hmm.
is it's just amazing because like even I thought I would hate Arabella.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like part of me
And
just because.
and you felt sorry for her.
But you couldn't. And the fact that the characters didn't act like those immature, I mean, they handled everything
And some of these
maturely.
characters are really young,
Yes.
and they all, seemed very mature.
And that was another negative review on the first book I saw, which you ain't got no business rating fantasy and reviewing it if you do not read fantasy literature. Which, okay, the age, I have seen that played and people are playing it out. But the same people are reading these dark romance, age gap,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
oh, that's okay. We're gonna read.
About normal people, not fantasy world people. We're reading these age
Yes,
gap books that are literally about like that could
20.
be
Yeah,
more so real life.
20-year age gap, and she just turned 18 and is
My
living
best
with.
friend's dad.
Yeah, or my favorite one, and I can't say nothing because I did kind of like the book, but it's not my favorite because I'm not a watch user.
Mm-hmm.
I can read it. I can appreciate where she was going with it, but I've never been a watch user. It's hard for me, like I understand you move on from somebody else, go date somebody else, and then you go back. But then turning around and having the same partners, not at the same time, but at the same like not being finished with the first one
before you move on to
before you move on to the
or
next
start something
one.
with another person. Yeah.
So what I don't understand is the same people that read these books don't like the cheating trope either. Makes no sense. But anyways, so we're talking about this one book in particular.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And there's a huge age gap. Okay. Homegirl has literally just turned 18.
Yes. Yes.
And then she moves halfway across the country after the death of her parents, right? And she moves in with her step uncle. Now, this is
No
no blood,
blood.
no blood. So I get where people are just like, there's,
Taboo.
yeah,
Yeah.
taboo, but we're not talking blood related. And the fact that she never even knew he existed, he never knew really anything about her. So it's not like they grew up
There's no
together.
relationship there. Yeah.
Right. So these are just a whole bunch of strangers. So she moves in and she has an affair with the step uncle and then both of the sons.
Mm-hmm.
And we are upset because Lena in this book is 16. The first time.
Yes.
Now, I want to know is we live in a reality where and this just boggles my mind. Like I cannot wrap my head around it. All of a sudden, somebody who is 17 today turns 18 tomorrow. The stuff that was not allowed and taboo yesterday all of a sudden is normal for
Okay.
today.
Mm-hmm.
It is not. It's not. That's what I don't understand. Like it has to be in black and white. Like, oh, well, she's 18, it's okay. No, it's not okay. She was 17 yesterday.
Literally like
She has the mindset of a 17-year-old, and you had
and
problems.
he is a 40-year-old. Yeah.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden we're 18 and everything's okay. Wait a minute. Okay, and now we won't read Lies of Lena because we had a problem with her losing her innocence at 16.
With another 16-year-old, mind you.
Right, not an age gap. We're talking 16 in a fantasy book where we don't really know. First of all, we don't even really know if they measure time like we do. What if it's 16 in dog years?
Right.
Nobody dresses that.
Right. We have no clue.
It might not even be a year is not 365 days in this fantasy world. It could be freaking 7 years in dog years. Like, we don't know. And then the second thing I have a problem with, and I don't really understand about these people, they refuse to read that, but then everybody is on board with Credence and all these other books and why choose and age gaps
Spicy. Yeah.
just because they're 18 is appropriate. But oh well, you wouldn't mind your kids. First of all, my kids ain't gonna be reading this.
Right. No.
And as a parent, well, I don't want to think about my 16-year-old. No, I know. Don't none of us really want to think
No,
that
but
way.
yeah.
But let's be real for a minute because even if you take the concept out of the fantasy world and put it in the real world, which is not something I recommend, but apparently that's what we're doing. So let's do that. Okay, so Lena is 16 years old and she is with a boyfriend of 16 years old
Mm-hmm.
and they lose their innocence.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, that's a lot better than most kids today. And
Yeah.
I'm a parent and I'm going to say that. And I hope that that's not going to happen at 16. But realistically
The reality,
speaking,
yeah.
I'm not I'm not going to be one of those that tells my daughter it's okay. But I'm not going to be one of those that's
You're not
not going to
naive.
live in that fantasy world that's never going to happen.
Right.
However, in this fantasy world that we're living in that people refuse to participate and be a part of because they're 16, not to mention the fact that Lena has worked her entire life, the maturity level of somebody that's 16 in this alternate universe that we're living in obviously is a lot because she was going door to door selling stuff
For her mother.
for her mother 2 years before this at the age of 14.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, there's a whole lot more maturity.
Right. The trust and the yeah.
Yeah.
There has to be.
And I have seen that that's another one of the controversial things. But if you want to talk controversy, then why are you not discussing the stuff that matters? Like, that's
True.
just, and the age, the reason why it has to be 16 is so important throughout the entire series because of what happens a couple years later. And the fact that, yes, it may be almost the entire book, but it's going to skip across 5 years.
There's a big, yeah.
This is just the setting.
Yep, there's a big time jump.
So you have to kind of know their relationship before their story gets started. And their story don't start until that time jump in 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
But people will just close that
Automatically.
book and
Mm-hmm.
DNF it because it's 16. But in 5 years is when their story's for real going to start. I really love her writing style too. And I will say that she has the most remarkable way of wording things.
Yeah.
I think my favorite thing about her writing style in general was the fact that it was so beautifully worded that I could highlight something and then read 2 pages over, and then I'm like, oh, I gotta highlight that too. And before I know it, like my whole Kindle highlighted stuff was just lit up all over the screen. But my favorite quote from the whole series has to be the they taught me how to lie to survive, but no one taught me how to live with the truth. Did you have a
And that's,
favorite quote?
well, I was going to say, I don't know that I had one favorite, but I do like that one because it's prevalent throughout the book for multiple characters, not just the
Yes.
person that says it.
And so if you've and I hope you've read it because there may be spoilers. Sorry, my cat. She is just going crazy.
Let's see.
Anyway, so I hope that you have read this before you're listening. But the whole scheme of the first book was the fact that Lena is a mage and her mother is a mage, and they're being executed, hunted down, and they're kind of hiding out as
Normal,
apothecary.
yeah, normal humans that run an apothecary.
Yeah. So they have some healing abilities, but they're not advertising as mages. They're
Mm-hmm.
trying to hide it.
Which, and they can, so the mages have pointed ears, and that's one of the things in the book is they'll conceal their ears. They make their ears look like human ears to blend in. So that's one of the ways that they're able to hide in plain sight, pretty much.
And her mother taught her from the time that they never really spent time in the same place very long.
Right. Yeah.
They had to move around. And she told her, that, hey, do not ever tell anybody what we are. You've got to conceal this because if you don't, we'll die. And because of the fact they had to live in secrecy, they were fairly poor.
Mm-hmm.
And she meets, and it was totally not on purpose, it was by accident. She's actually being bullied.
Yeah. So in this, there's rings. So you've got your outer ring and your inner ring, and that's kind of based on your wealth. And so she was traveling into the inner ring to sell the potions that her mother makes at the apothecary. And that's where she stumbles upon some teenage girls. And they, like
The
you're
mean
saying,
girls,
yeah, bullying her.
the Reginas.
And that's where we meet Quill, who we later find out is Silas.
And Quill, not only does he save her from being bullied, and he stands up to her tormentors and kind of just shoos them off a little bit, he actually helps her to finish delivering everything because she knows she's fixing to be out of time and,
Yeah,
all,
because they have to be out of the inner ring by a certain time.
mm-hmm.
The people that live in the outer ring are only allowed so many hours a day to visit
and then they have to
February.
be back home. It's kind of like curfew. And he takes the rest of her bag and tells her, I'll help you deliver this, no problem, and she goes back home and her mom's like, I can't believe you did that. He just
What?
robbed us and we have nothing, no money, no potions. I don't have the supplies for more. We're going to be broke. We're going to be homeless. It's all your fault. And nobody's really expecting him to come back.
No, yeah.
And then he does.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that set the whole tone for how this book is going to play out was the fact that she could trust him.
Immediately. Yeah,
Yeah.
there was a trust there that, yeah.
And to me, I had suspicions right there that obviously he's not hurting for money.
Yeah. I did,
Regardless of
yeah.
where he is, he's
Right.
not hurting for money because if he would have ran off with it. And he wasn't in a hurry on time. So he had some kind of,
There's some leniency there with him.
yeah. I didn't pick up on that to begin with, but now I'm thinking about it. I'm like, you know what? That probably should have been a cue that he was somebody
Well, he
important.
also didn't know he could have been sneaking,
Yeah.
teenagers sneaking around, things like that too. But then when you start to put the Easter eggs together, it's like, okay, well, yeah, there was a little bit of leniency. He had a little bit more freedom there.
And I kind of knew where this was going because I've read a lot of romantic books. I can smell a relationship brewing before they even say hello. Okay, like I've already when she saw Torin and the fact that they hated each other and that he didn't really like her very much, I'm like, something's there. I don't know what, but something's gonna be there. But I will say the fact that Silas's mother, the queen,
Mm-hmm.
was so
So,
supportive and
well, we haven't got so
all knowing.
after they have this encounter, he starts coming to visit her every day in
Yes.
the outer ring, and he starts training her pretty much to defend herself. So, in case she comes in contact with any more bullies in the future. And like he's teaching her how to use weapons and all this. And so there again, you're like, okay, well he's trained. There's a guard that protects the royals of the inner ring. So we come to find out that he is a royal.
He is actually the royal. So they have kept him hidden. They've called him the hidden prince because his sister and I still don't know and I have a feeling, I have a very big inkling that she is going to play a huge part in the rest of the series. I don't know how it's going to lay out yet, but I know that she can't really be.
Well, that's how she's introduced. Is she's supposed to be dead? The little sister.
Yeah.
She's supposed to be, or is she older? I can't remember. Is she older?
I think she's
A little bit older.
I think she's older because that's when they put him into hiding.
Okay. So, and she was supposed to be killed when she was little, and that's what we're led to believe up until the second book.
Yeah.
So, and then they've put him in hiding. So,
And when she found out too, I felt for her because I just felt like when she found out that Quill was Silas, that he was the prince, he was coming out and they were having a ball and blah, blah, blah. Of course, because this is how it always goes. Of course, when they come out, they're fixing to have to get married, and that's just
right.
that.
Well,
That's what it
that's your
is.
birthday.
That's
That's
your
where that
birthday,
that being 16 and the age thing comes into play.
and you are, of course, not. I'm sorry, Lena. You don't qualify.
Right.
You're poor and you're a mage. And, well, they don't know that. But, she is out of the running. So when she sees him, and I don't think she's really expecting him to pay her any mind, but he does.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, he's got draw. I mean, they've got insane chemistry. I really was not expecting the queen to be so supportive of her as a
Mm-hmm.
person.
It seemed kind of out of left field from the way they make you believe the royals see people like them.
Yeah.
They execute them and burn them at the stake pretty much. And so, and then just the fact that well, I mean, they don't know that that's their mages at that point, but the fact that they live in the outer ring, they're looked down upon.
Right.
And they know that she lives there because the queen went to visit at one point and saw Lena and her mother.
Yeah.
So she knows about them.
And I'm talking about she went out of her way to help him. She was also really supportive of his relationship with her. And I think the only person that really just, and it chapped my butt, boy, I'm telling you, I was so mad with the king. He has, there are so many similarities in the king from Throne of Glass, but he is just a jerk.
He's awful, yeah.
And the fact that, like, he sent out that order and he was going to execute, like, all the mages, and just out of nowhere, she didn't even get to tell him bye. Like, it was, you gotta get out of here. And of course, they don't just leave. Like, and it took me the whole series to process this, because if you've read both the books, then you understand how I felt when Silas was reconnected with Lena and he was so mean, and I'm like feeling sorry for her, and I'm like, dude, you just need to chill. But then
And this is after the time, like, there's a big time jump
there's a
before
time
they
jump.
reconnect.
There's 5 years and they've been separated, and he has not fully come out and said it until I think it was like almost halfway through the second book. But he says, you know, you did not just pick up and leave. Like, I mourned you. I
You
grieved your
died.
body. You
Yes.
died. I buried you. So the fact that they faked their own death and took these two bodies and burned the house down, he really did. He believed that this was, and that there was no bringing her back. I mean, that was going to be a closed door.
Right.
And then when he sees her again, he's married, y'all. He's married. He's moved on, not necessarily because he didn't love her, but because
Well, he's a
she was
prince
dead.
and he has to. I mean, he
Yeah,
has to, marry someone. And yeah, he thought she was dead.
she was dead, and all of a sudden he is over a raid, and then there she is. Like,
Well, see, when he thinks she's dead, they still do not know that they're mages.
yeah,
Like, he still is not aware of that. And then when he sees her again, it's because his father is sending the guard to do these raids of these villages full of mages. So he is in the middle of a raid, killing these people, and there she is. So now not
what?
only are you alive, but you are the person I'm hunting. You are a mage. So there's two things thrown in his face right there.
I can understand how he was a little perturbed by that. I mean, you brought back, I grieved you, but now here you are in my face, and you're the thing that. Okay, so there's also, after this 5 year jump, a whole bunch of new characters. So to help you guys out, we create a little graph, and this is not a family tree per se. I mean, it kind of is, but it's kind of like a who's who with who tree.
And it's a work in progress.
It's a work in progress, but we're gonna put this up there so you can see it. So if you're watching us via the YouTube channel, then that you can look and see. So we do have right here. We've got, and I have not figured out quite how to do this to where it's in color. That kind of gives the appearance that they're deceased, but they're not. So you've got Minerva, which is Lena's mom, and she was present in the first book, and I absolutely loved her character.
You
She
meet her
was,
immediately.
yes, and she was very motherly.
Nurturing, yes,
She
yes.
wasn't the type of mother that sometimes some of these books, they could be like, was it Gothel from Rapunzel?
Oh yeah.
And I love
Yeah,
Minerva.
she was very motherly. Mm-hmm.
And then, like, but see, in our Who's Who tree, you've got Lena and Silas. and their soul ties, even though they're not together post 5 years. And then you've got the queen and the turd King Ulrich. And then over here, just randomly, you've got Lena's dad, which she finds out his name is Waylon. And that's the only man that mom has ever really loved. And wasn't she with, I mean, she, I can't remember his name.
Oh, there was another guy in the village that the guard raided, but I can't remember his name either. He wasn't there very long. He didn't play
Didn't
a
he
major
die?
part. Yeah,
He wasn't a major part.
yeah,
But Waylon's always been her true love.
right. And so Lena does not know Waylon. Her mother left when she was pregnant.
And he never knew she had a daughter. Or that he never knew that
She
he
was.
knocked her up and
Mm-hmm.
he had a daughter. He wound up being. Now, where did she find him? Was it the King's Guard?
So there are multiple there are multiple villages we
We encountered,
visit
yes.
throughout these books. And so after the raid, they end up going back to the guards' fort. And then once they leave there, they have been instructed to go to another village. And that's where they encounter Waylon. He's a guard for that
Okay.
village.
I think I was on the guard path. The fact that in the first book we wrote about the fact that Minerva has always talked about her dad as her only love or whatever, and almost through the whole second book we're just now circling back to the fact that we found him, and that was a breadcrumb. Friends, all your questions are going to be answered by the end of this series. I feel like I can promise you that. But we also have Torin, who wound up being a huge centerpiece in this whole series. In the very beginning, she meets him. He's the prince's guard, and she's like, Silas, he don't like me. And we kind of felt the tension there. But then there's something that developed. And when he helped her escape, because surprise, he's a mage too, there bloomed something out of the aftermath. And then he left.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't really know what exactly was there something there to exist. Was there something that wasn't? They're not soul ties. That's all we know.
Yeah, and I think he wants it. He would love to be with her, but he knows there's no way that he can be. So he's
Even though he's repeatedly told, and I'm going to butcher his name. It is not Ignon. Enon,
what's it say over there?
Anon,
What's his
the seer, the one that taught Lena,
Igon?
Igon.
Yes,
Okay, so I stand corrected. It is Igon.
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 Yes,
You hear
he
Igon.
gone now.
So he told him, Igon told Torin, like, you're not her soul tie. You got to stay away from her.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't really sure about how I felt about that because I kind of wanted Lena to be happy. And the fact that they had to go all through these travels and he was with his new wife and she didn't have nobody, I was upset.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I was a little sad for
Well,
Lena.
it was like everyone knew, but she didn't know they knew. Like everyone knew that her and Silas
They
were
had
soul ties,
something.
but she didn't know. Like the
Yes.
elder characters knew, and so Torin really he wants it. He loves her, but he's mature enough to take himself out of the equation.
And once again, the maturity level of these characters is on point, and the fact that nobody is really petty penny. I mean, they're just
There's a little bit of jealousy, and you can. I mean, that's understandable.
yes,
But again, yeah, they're so mature even about their jealousy.
yes. And the fact that Lena is honestly she is jealous of Arabella because we refer back to the loss of innocence and the fact that her and Silas
Yeah.
had something, and not just that they had something physically, they had a huge connection. They matured together. I mean, she saw a future with him, even though she didn't know how it would be physically possible with their status. She knows that he's married, and she knows that in her mind there is no reason to hate Arabella. She even says, like, I really want to dislike her,
But I like her. Like
but it's hard not to
yeah.
like her, you know? And the fact that she was so mature about it, and the fact that Arabella was mature about it. I think Arabella was a little more petty than she was, but
Well, and that goes back to like the elders in the story know, but the younger characters that are along the same age, they don't have a clue about Silas and Lena.
mm-mm.
They don't know that there was a relationship there. So when you bring Lena into this and you see the flirting or and it's not even flirting, like there's just a connection there that you can't deny.
Yeah,
And so they're questioning, like, why are they acting like this with one another? Like
right.
they know that he's married, and so what's going on?
The fact that this book turned so dark so quick.
Oh, and it's fast. Yeah.
It literally happens where everything is just flying along. There's butterflies and flowers everywhere
Well,
and
and that's what he calls her in the book,
little
little
flower.
flower.
Yes. And there's such sweetness and innocence, and then all of a sudden there's murder. And then it goes down to death. And I mean, it is so quick. And a lot of people were like, why would this can't be dark. Yes, it is pretty
It
dark.
gets dark. Yeah.
And then you go straight from that to how Silas was treating her in the very beginning after he found her. First of all, she's handcuffed or manacled, whatever you call it, and then taken to the castle. And he is blatantly trying to show he doesn't care, like going out of the way to show he doesn't care. Like, I don't
Oh
care.
yeah, he's a jerk.
He's a
Jerky jerk
jerk.
jerk.
But she does a really good example of portraying the fact that how you treat somebody, it's not just showing that person that you don't care, but it's also showing the people around you that you don't care. So therefore, they're feeding off of your interactions,
Mm-hmm.
which is what happened in her situation and the trauma that happened in that jail cell. Like, I kept thinking he's going to come before something ever happens.
Right. Yeah, I did too. I didn't think we would get to that point.
But we did. We got to that point, and
This is one of the warnings in the book. There is some sexual abuse that occurs.
yes, and physical assault, sexual assault. I mean, there was a lot that happened to her, and the fact that there was all that brutality after. But I don't think that he really. It didn't really. He was sorry about everything in his mind,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think he portrayed it very well right after. But let me tell you, if I'd have been Arabella, I felt bad. If I don't care who it was.
Well, he was still keeping her at arm's length. Like he cared, and he does from the actions immediately after this takes place. What he does to the people in the cell after she is removed from it will tell
Yeah.
you how he actually feels about her. But I think he's just keeping her at arm's length, and but she can tell there is still some of that connection there because of
Yes.
how he does care for her in that instance. He may be standoffish, but he takes her into his his room that he's sharing with his wife and makes his wife leave. Like
Girl, let me tell you. Let me tell you. I don't care. And Silas, The sad thing was is I do want them to be back together, and I want a happy ending for Arabella, and I respect the sanctity of marriage, but let me be Arabella for a minute. And I'd be like, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait
Like
a minute.
she's a
Like,
stranger at this point. Like they don't know that there's a connection there between Silas and Lena. So to all these other characters, Silas and Lena are strangers.
yeah, I ain't leaving my bedroom. I ain't leaving
So
my
why are
bedroom.
you letting a stranger sleep in my bed and moving me out into another room?
Girl, let me tell you, I would rain down seven kinds of hell. Like, and that just, but that goes to maturity. I'm not that mature, obviously. Silas, I can burn a lot of shit
You're
out in
like,
that front
excuse me,
lawn.
why don't you take her to that room and you can stay in there with her, but I'm going to stay in our room. You're not removing me.
I will take everything out of that closet and light it on fire. Like, and revolving back to the fact that these characters are very mature because that would not be me. But even though this happened, even though Arabella, she's not a bad person for being jealous. You
No, I mean,
want
that
her
is her
to be,
husband.
yes, you want her to be a bad person, but you can't really find a whole lot of fault with how she does it.
Right.
And you end up wanting a happy ending for even her.
Yeah.
And I wanted that with Roland to work out so bad, but at this point in the series, you don't really know how that's going to happen yet. And the fact that, let's see, we've added Roland, which is
He's a member of the
he's a
guard.
member of the guard. We've added Edmund and Hendry. And then we've added Elowen, Merrick, and Viola. All of those are new at this point in the second book.
They're from the village that was raided.
And Enon, we talked about Enon. Agon. Agon. No C, Agon. We talked about Agon a little bit, and we didn't really discuss how, like, I can't imagine how Silas felt by the end of the second book. So when they're doing all this traveling and memory eye viewing, whatever, not, can you imagine the trauma he's experiencing right now? Because that's his grandfather.
We found out. And so when Lena and her mother were in this village, this is a village that Torin took them to because this is where he lived before he became a guard. And while he was living in this village, his parents went missing. And so when he takes Lena and her mother, they kind of become part of a family that's already there. And Agon becomes like a grandfather to her, to Lena.
Yes.
And during the raid, Silas kills Agon.
And Agon knows, he says it has to happen this way.
Yes, he's a seer.
Yes.
So he, sees the future basically, sees how things are going to play out.
And was totally aware
That he was going to die.
he was going to die.
Mm-hmm.
And after all this is said and done, we're talking like we've already skipped across the 5 years. He's killed Agon. They've been to the jail cell. They have moved 5 different villages by now. And we're talking about we're at the very close to the very end of the second book. And yeah, we've talked about we've added a lot of characters and stuff. And not that we forgot about Agon, we've talked about him frequently.
Well, he's the one that sent him on this quest. He tells her, "You've got to find this village. Your
Yes.
answers are going like the answers to everything are going to be here."
And I mean, like, she's been hearing Kayan, the voice, telling her things and
Yes, now that's one thing we
visions.
haven't touched on. She can hear a voice, and she hears it in the first book, but she has no clue who this voice is. And it tells her, and it just pops up randomly, and we'll talk to her.
And when all this was happening in the very first book, I kind of had the inkling. I'm like, this is going to be an evil voice. This is going to be like somebody who's attaching itself to her brain. And
Really?
yeah,
See, I didn't know what to think. I didn't have any clue.
I kept having that suspicion that it was going to be evil. But the more this series rocked on, because after reading all the romantasy, that is where I first headed. But after all this rocked on, I loved how it was a total spin on things. It was like, all right, that's what you want to think, but actually opposite. I know that you're going to be with my son, and surprise, I'm your mom-in-law.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Like, the way it throws you back to that first book, and you're like, oh my goodness, you never
Plot
thought
twist,
that that's
yes.
what was happening behind the scenes. Like, that's the driving force behind so much that was going on.
At one point, I had the suspicion that the voice was going to be something related to Silas. I had the suspicion, well, what if it's Agon's wife? Like, what if it's his sister and she's hearing the voice of his sister? But so when all these memories surfaced and they're watching, everybody is watching pretty much the history between Silas and her.
So, yeah, when she is with Silas in the first book, he gives her his mother's a necklace. And even after the time jump, she still got that necklace. And so, one of the villages that they make it to, there's like a time viewing machine that you can go and you put an artifact in, and all the memories that are tied to that artifact, you can view them. And so that's what's taken place. They've given them this necklace, and they're seeing all these memories play out. And this is when the side characters that we've brought in find out
That
that
they have such a
that
history.
they're soul ties.
Yes.
And this is also when we find out that Agon is
His grandfather.
Silas's grandfather,
He was actually Rhea, which, plot twist, is the voice of KN,
which is Queen
which is
Rhea.
Queen Rhea and Silas's mother. And now, okay, we already knew he had some guilt with what happened with her in the jail cell and the fact that she had some guilt from faking her death. They both carried some weight. But when he gets this news, I mean,
It breaks him pretty much. Like,
he
he has
killed his
shown no
grandfather.
emotion
And he's
really.
part mage.
Yeah.
So this whole time, he's been hunting his own kind and didn't even know. And
Well, and that's where another twist comes in. So we're of the belief that the queen is supposedly dead. So
yes,
that's what started the need for Lena and her mother to flee, is because the night of the ball, the queen is murdered,
yes.
and they think it's a mage that did it. That's what the townspeople are told. So the
I
king,
bet it's the king.
so
But that's just my belief.
well, I mean that's what he puts the call out for, is murder all the mages because they have murdered the queen.
I
And
bet they
now
did, King Ulrich. I bet they
we
did.
have come to find out that she's still alive. She's being held captive by the king. So now here we are. We think, okay, they have fled now, and he has been put through all this trauma of thinking his mother is dead. The love of his life is dead. And now his father has sent him on a killing spree.
And he's been killing his own kind. And he murdered his
And
granddad.
yeah, and now
If
this poor guy.
Silas if Silas has to be committed by the end of this series, I totally understand because he has been through
He
some
has
stuff.
been through it.
And I don't know what's going to happen with Arabella because, I mean, she ended up being scratched by a necromancer in one
Well,
of the
so
villages.
the side characters that we have, there's a little bit of a budding relationship that is happening between one of them and Arabella. And it is my belief that they will end up soul ties. That's what I
Merrick
think.
and,
Yes.
okay, I totally see that. Roland,
There was something
he
there
was training Arabella too
at the yeah.
at one point.
Mm-hmm. I think Roland just likes everybody
Yeah, and
though.
he said he was protective over her, but he's kind of protective over a lot of people.
Yeah, I think he's just one of those.
He
He seems
is
like a big flirt.
he's a frat boy.
He's very, and there is some. and this goes back to your trigger warnings, but there's some angst there, and so
For
during
your
the
why choose lovers, there is one scene that you might actually like.
during our travels, while Silas is giving the cold shoulder, Lena and Roland start to kind of they get close, and
Physically.
yeah, but she notices that there's some hostility there between Silas and Roland,
Yes.
and neither one of them will elaborate. Well, it comes out that during the time that he is grieving Lena, he becomes close with Roland, who is also he's a guard, and something physical is about to take place between them, and the king walks in and pretty much he kicks Roland out and then proceeds to assault Silas. And then what takes place after that is very traumatic. So again, when we say this kid has been through
He's been through some
some
stuff.
stuff, he has been through some stuff.
He has every right to be
It's rough. It
traumatized.
is, yeah, it's rough out here in the streets for Silas.
Yes. He definitely has some PTSD. I was surprised the fact that we find out that his mother was Agon's daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what we haven't really touched on in the series that I feel like this is going to come out in the books to come is there's been no accidental magic from him. There's been no that we've really wonder if he is he going to have magic? Is the concealing spell his mother put on him? I wonder does that
Well,
maybe
so
help his ears?
another thing,
Or is he really mage? He, like he could be
right?
dull.
Well, we don't. That's we don't know if like it's the way that it is at the end of the second book. You're led to believe that he's not a mage. That his sister is, which we find out is alive at the end of the second book. But there's so this quest that they're on, we come to learn that there's gods and goddesses, and that King Ulrich is not who he portrays himself to be.
Yes.
And so throughout their travels, they're encountering the undead,
Yes.
a necromancer,
Very similar to Throne of Glass, the Vogue.
and they're supposedly dead. Like there's not supposed to be any more of them. So that's one of the answers they're trying to find is who is this? Who is controlling the undead? Well, we find out it's the king. He is the one that's out here doing all the bad. And so, what is it? He's the god of what did we say? Deceit.
God of Deceit, yes.
Okay.
And, there, like I said, that part is very similar to Throne of Glass and the King. There's a lot of similarities there. So, I have read that a lot of people are like, in the reviews, that it was pretty much like a play. It's not. It's really not. It has its own plot. I mean, it's similar, but it's not so similar that I would read it and be like, "Oh, this is the same thing, just worded different." It's not. It has its own plot. So those of you who have read that might be deterring you from reading this amazing series, please do not, and here I am talking about these people ain't read this series before they listen to this. They better have read it before they. I hope they have
you
read it.
have, because if not,
There are
the
spoilers
yeah.
in any of our talks,
And
our
now
book
we are
talks.
jumping around all over the place. So while we are spoiling things, you still need to, if you haven't, there's still so much story that we haven't even
And I can't
touched
even
on.
express how beautifully I have read a lot of stuff this year. I think I have read 74 books this year already.
Oh my
And
goodness, girl.
I mean, like, I'm either reading or I'm listening to a book
Mhm.
all the time. Most of which, right now, because that's what's popular, are series and romantasy. And I, like I said, very seldomly come across a debut book that I'm blown away by. And
This was amazing.
this was amazing. And the fact that, I mean, she has to know where this is going. This isn't like
Well, she said
fly by the seat of your pants. I mean, I've got this planned out because I'm leaving breadcrumbs.
so. Going back to how we were talking about, this is from what we can tell, it's supposed to be like a 5 or 6 book series, and there's a novella also that's coming out. If you go to her Instagram and just kind of look around and stuff, she even mentioned, so like Merrick, he's one of the side characters. He's the one that we were talking about with Arabella. That there kind of seems to be something blossoming there. She talks about him on her Instagram as being a character that she's had in her head since 2017.
I can
So
believe it.
this is something, yeah, that's been, she's been developing for a while.
This is well orchestrated. I mean, all of the characters
And
are
the world
very,
building,
yes. Oh my
it's
gosh.
crazy.
And like I said, all the people that were dissing the whole fact that, oh, well, we've got medieval dresses and blah, 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 and then we've got pizza, tank tops, and skinny jeans. I promise you that will be addressed.
Yeah,
There's a reason. And I really believe that has a lot to do with the fact that everything is laid out in rings.
there's something, and like I said, even though there's spoilers here, there is still so much story that we haven't even touched on. And the first book, and I'm not gonna lie, the first book, I want to say half of the first half, but I don't even feel like it may have been like the first quarter of the first book. It was a trudge. I'm not gonna lie. Like it was a little bit slow, and I was like, oh no, like please don't do this to me. But once you get to that back half of that first book, it picks up, and when you get to that second book, it is zero
Nonstop.
to 100. Like it is from jump. You are thrown into it, and it is yeah nonstop
And
until the
all
end.
of the characters are so endearing that even though that's just like Arabella's character to a degree because she's with Silas, you don't want to like her, but throughout the series, you find yourself gravitating to wanting her to wind
Until
up with a
the
happy
very
ending
end of
too.
the second book when something happens and it's her
Yes.
fault, but
But then
there's an answer
again,
for that
I
too.
feel like the Arabella that we have become endeared to would not have done that until, like, when she was
No,
injured.
there's
There's
a
something
reason.
there.
Yeah.
And I don't really feel like she would have went out of her way to endear Arabella to us
If she was just gonna turn around
if
and
she
be.
was gonna she would have made us hate her so that we
Mhm.
would have appreciated the fact that she turned on them so we could have killed her off.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
we would have voted her off the island. But the fact that she was so endearing, even you know how hard it is to endear somebody to the other woman?
Oh right. Yeah.
I mean, like that,
And
that that's a skill.
it was almost like those real life instances where you have where you really don't want to like somebody because of how or their relationship with another person, but then that person is like, no, it's okay to like them, like it,
Yes.
and it feels like that's what she was doing to us. Like she was like, it's okay, like I like them, so it's
Like
okay
your
for you
best
to.
friend's other best
Yeah,
friend. You know what I'm talking about? Like you're just like, that's my best friend, you know, and then
yeah,
you don't want to like her, but then you wind up liking her.
that's what I felt like. She was like holding her hand, like it's okay to
It's
like
okay to
her.
like her. And even like the little breadcrumbs where you were in Arabella's head and she was telling you that she never understood why like she tried with Silas so hard and she was hurt that it didn't seem to really be helping. Like it nothing really seemed to fix
And
the
it does,
slump.
like she was a good wife to him, like
Yes.
she,
And he was a good husband to her.
to the extent that he could be.
Yes.
Yeah,
But there was no like
that connect.
chemistry.
Yeah.
That connection wasn't there. But you know, we are in royalty, so there's really how is this going to play out because do they really get divorced? We don't know.
Mhm. Mhm.
And there's going to be a whole lot more story there. And I do have a feeling that something's going to wind up happening from that scratch she got when she
It's
ended
going
up.
to play into what, yeah. And I am going to say that I also did see reading on Kylie's Instagram that into this series, Lena and Silas are going to take a back seat and they're going to become side characters. And we're going to start following stories of
What in the Akatar? I'm totally
some
game,
of the
totally
other
game.
characters.
And it takes a lot for somebody to have a debut book, have a debut
And we
book that's a
know what
series.
the name of the next book is going to be. What
Ooh,
did I
what
tell
is
you
it?
it was going to be? So the novella is Memories of Merrick. So you're going to get the story. There's a little bit of time in this second book where they're thrown into what is it? The something of awakening. The
Oh,
village
I
of awakening.
yes, they're there.
The
What they felt like
valley of awakening.
hours, but it wound up being like 40 days.
Yeah, so they're thrown into this place, and it's supposed to it's like it brings out all your truths, basically. And some of them feel like they've been there for a week, some of them feel like they've been there for a day, and some of them, as we find out, feel like they've been there for 40 something days. And so that's what this novella is going to follow is Merrick and Arabella
We're
were
gone.
gone together for these 40 something days, and that's what it's gonna be about is those 40 something days and what happened.
And that is how I feel like I know that the time travel will be addressed. Is because that
The whole
valley,
realm, yeah,
yeah,
like a whole nother
it's a
realm.
whole nother realm. It is. I just cannot imagine. It is so difficult for authors to have a debut of just like a standalone, let alone a series like this that has you in a chokehold that makes you want to continue to read every book. I mean, it's not just one book. I mean,
Like
it's both of them.
yeah,
You've
you're
been you're on the edge of your seat trying to
well,
figure out what's
that's
going to happen next.
so for the month that was the first book was our read.
Mhm.
Like the second one was not we had not planned to read the second one.
No, we took our next read off the board
So
to
that
put
everybody
Sins of
could read.
Silas. Yes, because we had to figure out what happened. We just couldn't stop where we
Yeah,
were.
it's like literally as soon as you finish that first one, you're like, okay, I've got to
Got I
start the
gotta
second
figure
one.
this out. I cannot just if Kindle Unlimited hadn't I had it, I don't know what I would have done because I had to wait for the physical copy because I ordered the Lies of Lena when I saw the fact that we were so well matched. like it
So
everything
good.
I have read, it just popped up on what you should read next. So I was like, well, I got the best of me, ordered it, and I waited for it to come in and I read it. Well, it was on Kindle Unlimited, but I like reading it on Kindle, but I still want a physical
The book.
copy.
Mm-hmm.
But when I finished this book and I got to the end of it, I literally I laid it down. I said I'm gonna go to sleep, and I closed my eyes, and I could not go to sleep. I had to know what happened next. So then I had to get on Kindle and figure out if the book was on Kindle Unlimited, which luckily it is. Actually, both of them are. So I think I got to chapter 10 before I went to sleep that night. And it was like 4 o'clock in the morning.
Well, that's so. The second book I read in 2 days as I could. I have a 5-year-old, and I fell asleep that second night reading it, and I was so disappointed because I only had like 10% left.
Oh, well, speaking of 10%. Anyways, so we will wrap up today's episode because we're cutting it close. I think we've already talked about the majority of the series that we've read so far and how excited we are for the next book to come out.
And it comes out soon,
It comes out in
so
September, I think.
it's supposed to if everything goes like it's supposed to.
And now I know that she ain't going to Romance Con, but I did read that she is having a book signing September at the Bookish Boutique.
Mm-hmm.
And where do we
Panama
say?
City.
Panama City. So we're going to this book signing because I've got to have a signed copy of
Oh
this
yes, yes,
series.
yes, yes.
I feel like she's gonna be big.
Oh, absolutely.
Because the first time I read this book, when I recommended it for our read, or Mandy did,
You did.
I
Yeah, I did.
did? Okay. So the first time I read this book, I think it had like maybe 5,000 reads on it. You know, by the time that we read this book,
Oh, it's gaining traction like crazy.
14,000 people have read it or downloaded it on their Kindle. So I don't really know exactly how many people, but it did blow up. I am proud to say that I own a copy. I want a hard copy.
Yes, yes.
I don't know if
I
they're
want one
even
of the
making this.
special. I want one with like the sprayed edges and stuff. I want
Me
the really
too.
pretty ones.
I think it is so pretty. We're also making a candle to go on your bookshelf. I don't know if you guys have visited our store through the link on YouTube, but so we do make things related or inspired by some of the books that we've read. If we can't get them out of our head, we're going to do something with it. So,
Shirts, candles,
yes,
freshies, all that kind of stuff.
jewelry.
Yeah.
It basically, if we cannot, we're gonna wear it, smell it, something. But long story short, try to, if you live locally or even if you don't, go around to the Bookish Boutique in Panama City on September the 20th, I think.
It's the 20 something.
So
Yeah.
there's the 20th or the 26th. Follow her on Instagram, TikTok. Follow us on Goodreads, TikTok, YouTube,
All the things.
Spotify, all the things. Our next read is going to be Fourth Wing. Is it Fourth
Yeah.
Wing or Rose and
We
Chains
have fourth wing next. Yeah, and then Rose and Chains. This is our for the next
for the next
for
month?
August. Yeah.
So this was kind of like two episodes in one because we did Lies of Lena, Sins of Silas together. So we'll be caught up when we get ready to move on to the third book whenever it's released. Um, but anyway, so Kylie Snow, if you listen, you are amazing, girl. This book was amazing. The series
Oh,
is
are we gonna
amazing.
rate it? Are we
Oh,
rating it
what? Of course, it's a 5-star read for
for
me.
both of them? Are you
For
gonna turn
honestly, for
out of
both
10?
of them, if the second book could have been a 6, it would have been a 6 to me because I was in all the feels.
Okay.
How would you
So
rate it?
I think the first one I would give 4.5. The second definitely a 5. I would give a 6 too. Yeah, if it. Yeah.
If it's a book that I'm going to remember and that I have been through all the feels, this is one that I won't
Oh, I
forget.
cried.
I did too.
Cried my eyeballs out.
Stephen was like, "Why your eyes look like that?" I'm like, "Because this is so sad."
That's like, yeah, that last part of the second book, I woke up at 7 o'clock in the morning and was like, I'm gonna finish this really quick, and then sat there and boohooed.
And then you
First
don't
thing in
want
the
to do
morning.
anything the rest of the day because
No,
you
you
feel
do want to
miserable.
look up the songs and listen to the songs and stay in the.
Yes. And I'm a mood reader. I am the world's worst about, I'm going to read this book because it's recommended. But before I read it, let me see what the playlist is. Let me get the vibe. If I had that projector that everybody's talking about on TikTok for book readers where you take it and you literally,
Oh, and set up your aesthetic, your
yes,
atmosphere, your
like
everything.
your reading sitting from your room
Mm-hmm.
in Basquiat or something, I would own that. That would not be wasted money for me.
That would be what we lived in all the time. It would just be on constantly.
Yes. So